Hello, and welcome back to another Dev Diary on Imperator Rome. This time it's from Arheo, the game director over with the Imperator Rome team, and they're going to get into a little bit of some additional mechanics in this Dev Diary before jumping into some more stuff that are coming with the Heirs of Alexander free DLC pack that we've gone into the last two Dev Diaries. So let's get to reading. Greetings all! Today, we'll be covering some additional mechanics coming in the Marius update, before we take a look at further mission trees coming as part of the Heirs of Alexander DLC. Very cool. So, what they're going to cover in this Dev Diary, to start with, are ports. So, ports, currently, they provide a trade route, and you can't build them, they just come intact, and it's one of those things that seem very sort of arbitrary and not very well thought out in the game, although they're of incredible, crucial importance to the time period, as well as in the game you want ports because they give you trade routes, right? So we'll see what kind of changes they undergo here. As the astute amongst you have noticed, we've made several references to upgrading port infrastructure in recent Dev Diaries and streams. Yeah, I've noticed that. I pointed it out in the last Dev Diary. Prior to Marius, ports were seated in numerous historical locations, but could never be altered, removed, or added during gameplay, as I just said. They were just kind of there, as if they were force majeure. As Imperator Rome is a game where the ability to build your own civilization is paramount, it seemed natural that this behavior should be reconsidered. Yeah, it always seemed to me like a placeholder. Like they knew what the DLC was going to be to upgrade the whole port system. They just were saving it or something. So my first impression was always that their port system, the most sort of surface level thing, was never intended to be the final product. That's just speculation on my part, but we're seeing it come to fruition here. As part of Marius, shipyards will be a constructible building type, which along with various local effects will increase the port level of the territory in which they are built. That is fantastic. I don't know why. Again, I don't know why this wasn't how the case in the first place. So yeah, ports are an important thing. Harbors, shipyards, access to the sea, your ability to build, merchant fleets, trade fleets, military, navies, of course. All of that stuff matters, and getting rid of ports as something, or just never having ports as something that you can interact with and build and improve in order to up your maritime capacities of all different categories, then that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But they're changing that now. So now ports will actually matter, and they'll be something you have to think about and plan for as you build your civilization, as they're calling it. So here we have port. Each port would give the following benefits: ship recruit speed plus 10%, makes sense. Migration attraction, makes sense. Pop migration speed, makes sense. Local base trade routes plus 1%, again, makes sense. So you get a bunch of buffs, a bunch of smallish buffs by building, investing in your port infrastructure. Good. I mean, this is all very logical. This makes sense. This is what ports do. Okay, they help you build ships faster. They make your location more attractive for migration. They make migration faster because the infrastructure is there to accommodate a lot of people migrating, and it increases your trade routes by 1%. So nothing huge, but you get a bunch of them in there, and all of a sudden your trade capacity is up by 20%. If you have 20 trade routes, it stacks. So you can get pretty great benefits by stacking these, by stacking ports. Okay, let's move on. Shipyards can be constructed in any coastally adjacent territory, which will have the graphical effect of creating a culturally appropriate port model. Sweet, that's good, because all the port models now, I think, are the same. They're all sort of that curved Carthaginian model at the moment, I think. A culturally appropriate port model in the coastal territory. For technical and design reasons, we've chosen not to allow the construction of shipyards in river provinces unless there was a pre-seeded port already present. Okay, so in Pata, Leputa, or Sais, for example. So, especially in the Nile Delta, the lower Nile, there are a bunch of port cities. I thought there were a couple in some other rivers too, like on the Danube and Tigris, Euphrates, and the Indus River, I thought. Could be wrong about that. So These were just 2 examples. So there will be some river port cities, but they can't be constructed. I bet you, I'm going to speculate again along the same lines. That is not going to be the final look of river ports. They're going to get their own consideration at some point. But for now, I'm liking what they're doing with the seaports, because you got to start somewhere. The level of port in a territory will primarily dictate which ships it is able to construct. Low-level ports may only build and repair light ships, for example. Good. That's again another reason that an incentive they give you to invest in your ports, to make the best ports. Because if you want to have that big heavy-duty navy with heavy ships, then you'd have to have the proper port infrastructure to handle that sort of thing. Megapolaremes, I still don't know how to pronounce that, would require a port level of 5. Whoa. So that's a lot of investment in your port. But are still gated behind the corresponding military tradition, though due to tradition tree rework, this unlock can now be attained by any nation willing to invest into the traditions of the Greek kingdoms, right? We did cover that in a previous Dev Diary about how now you can, even if you're not a Greek nation or civilization, you can still invest in Greek military traditions given some considerations that you fulfill. And at the time, I voiced a little bit of concern because I thought they made it a bit too easy. Like, yeah, I thought you would have to have a lot of extensive cultural interactions with, say, Greeks in order to obtain their military traditions, if you're not Greek. But they made it seem very easy. I don't know. Well, you should check out that Dev Diary if you haven't already. And yeah, let's continue with this one. You'll be able to distinguish between port levels by map icon. 2 such examples at the beginning of the game are the port in Alexandria, which begins at a higher level than surrounding territories. Okay, so we can see here, try to zoom in as close as we can on this. This is Alexandria here, so it's got 2 tiers, right? These only have 1. This art looks a little funny. So yeah, the lighthouse here, there's just big fires just coming out of here to guide the ships at night, I suppose. And the lighthouse is Alexandria, the shipyard, I guess they're calling it, is 2 tiers, 2 levels, where these only have 1. These other 3 only have 1. So that is represented that way. Now, I don't know if that means it's a level 2 port or what, or if it's just represented that way. We'll see. All of the artwork is obviously work in progress. Okay, lastly but not least, ports can now be removed or destroyed by removing shipyard buildings in the associated territory. This act will evict any mercenary navies currently present and destroy the port model. Cool. Yeah, they should be, destructible. You can, of course, remove a port. I mean, Carthage, most famous as a city for its grand port, and Carthage, well, I guess what it's most famous for is being ultimately completely destroyed, but that includes its magnificent harbor and shipyard. So good. It's part of the destructible environment. That's great. Let's move on to technology feedback. Your response to the technology trees coming in 2.0 was overwhelming, and I feel we're on a good course with these. This said, there was some excellent critique on the system, some of which we've had a chance to iterate on. Okay, so I had some things to say about the tech trees when I saw them. Well, let's open this image here. I mean, here we have the advisors on the left-hand side with the civic advisor, which now opens in the same screen as the civic techs and the civic tech tree. Okay, that's a cool UI quality of life thing. Thumbs up on that. One of the most common opinions we saw was that the tech tree background appeared bland. It did. To address this, our talented artists have added a diagrammatic background replete with authentic wine stains to give some identity to the game view. I don't see any wine stain. Oh, here's a wine stain. Okay, that's pretty cool. Sure, I like that artistic choice. Now, I guess, I don't know if these advisors on the side were here before, and you can click the tab now. I don't know if that was there before. I don't think it was. So you can click, okay, the civic advisor is now linked with the civic advances, and it's all seemingly one tab. You're in the civic advances tab right now. Now, probably you could click this oratory advances button and go into that tab, and then you'd have a close-up on the oratory advances tech advisor guy. Not really an advisor, the one working on the tech, researcher or whatever. Although they don't really give you much info here. Anyway, yeah, the art is cool. Fine, good stuff. Okay, One additional and enduring piece of feedback we've had during testing was the lack of contextual identification for inventions in the new system. How does the player know what each invention represents, and how can they easily locate what they're aiming for in our larger tree structures? We've added 2 ways to mitigate this concern. Firstly, inventions now display their foremost modifier icon inside the UI element. This gives an at-a-glance indication of what you're likely to receive once an invention is purchased. As our regular players will know, however, there are a significant number of modifiers and modifier types in Imperator. Yes, there are. It can be tricky to mentally map all of these, which leads us to the second improvement. The search bar, ooh, I like search bars. The search bar in the top right corner will highlight inventions that correspond to your search terms. This will parse both names and modifier strings. Fantastic. Okay, good. Good. Okay, let's click on this image. So we're searching aggressive expansion here in the search bar, and the oratory advances having to do with aggressive expansion pop up. That is huge. That is a huge quality of life thing that is very clever and very needed. That's exactly the kind of thing that this game is desperately needing. Wow, that's great. So you are you're in the middle of an Imperator campaign. You've conquered a lot of territory, as is sort of one of the main goals. However, you notice that you're accumulating a bunch of aggressive expansion, so much that it threatens to not only halt your expansion, but completely undo all of your gains and force sort of a game over situation. You need to know which techs you need to reduce the amount of aggressive expansion you have. So you can go into this screen right here, you can type in aggressive expansion, and this gives you all of the techs you need to know. Now, I happen to know from playing a lot of Imperator Rome that equal integration, defending liberty, I mean, there are several policies, laws, technologies, rather, that reduce aggressive expansion, and this will tell you what they are. That's great. That's really good. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Goes without saying, hopefully, that this highlight is work in progress. Yeah, goes without saying. But that's good. I think that that's not a mechanical thing. That's just a quality of life thing that will make it so much better. In addition to these UI changes, some incidental balance changes have been made to the invention system. Notably, while we do not wish for it to be possible to unlock all inventions in a single playthrough, the number available versus the number of innovations available were simply too far removed. To mitigate this, we've decreased the expected years per technology from 20 years to 15 turns. Okay, so they're saying that it's not like they want people to get all the text. They want it to be really hard, if not impossible, to get all of the text. But people, you're not even getting close, right? You're not getting anywhere close to getting all of the text. You're not getting, barely halfway through the tech tree in some cases. So they're trying to mitigate that a bit, make it so that you get a bit further. They did too good a job in making sure that you couldn't get to the end of the tech tree. So they're going to let you get a bit further now. That's the idea. They're trying to rebalance the tech trees so that you can get a bit further with a normal playthrough, but not get all the way to the end. I do like that they're trying to make that kind of impossible. Yeah, okay. Several modifiers previously tied to nation rank, particularly diplomatic relations, have been moved out of their associated rank modifier and into the tech trees. I've never been entirely happy with the number of alliances and relations that were available from the beginning of the game. This addresses that concern, yet retains the ability to focus on this as a valid playstyle for players in AI, should their situation demand it. Okay, cool. So Ario here, so many of the things that he is skeptical about, I have also been skeptical about, judging from his dev diaries. So again, with sort of an arbitrary, hey, let's just slap this mechanic system on this thing and call it a day, is the alliances. So like in the beginning, at launch, you could only ally with people, with other countries that were your same rank, and the number of allies you have is dependent on your nation rank. So if you're like just a small tribal nation, you can only have like 1 or 2 allies, maybe 3. And then once you get to a major power, I think, or a great power, you cannot have any allies. It's just all, I understand that it's intended to balance the capabilities, and it's a strategy thing, And yeah, I learned to play with it, work around it, and it's totally fine. But it doesn't have any basis in history or anything except for this sort of board game balance numbers issue, which is fine. I mean, that's what Paradox does that better than anyone. But again, it strikes me as sort of a placeholder, not an authentic representation of what alliances are about during the time period. So, it's nice that we're visiting that. So now you can increase the number of alliances that you're capable of having with Tech Tree, and that's an improvement. I'll have to see how that plays out. But that definitely is an improvement. This is tied to something that you're doing, right? This is tied to, so like nations, civilizations, whatever, courts, royal courts that favored diplomacy would invest more resources into diplomacy, and therefore it would stand to reason that they're more capable diplomats and able of having more, bureaucrats and more capacity to have embassies and diplomats in other countries earn it this way. Still, I'm a bit skeptical about tying it to technology, but we'll see how it plays. And I scrolled too far. Yep, scrolled too far. Okay, let's keep going. This is just a picture of Tech Tree giving you extra diplomatic relations. Imperial Challenge War Goal. What is that? Alright, so they mentioned new war goals in the last Dev Diary, and here's just a little tease, I think. See who's going to notice this, or those, that game they like to play. Unlocks the Imperial Challenge War Goal against all countries that are major powers or more. That's awesome. So this Dev Diary isn't about that at all. That's just a little Easter egg, I think. But what that reveals to me is that there's going to be maybe a Casus Belli called Imperial Challenge. So any major power is presumably, an empire, at least empire-sized, and you could just declare war on them using the Imperial Challenge, Casus Belli, and War Goal, and then gobble up whatever territory that allows you to. I expect to hear more about that in the near future. As the above screenshot suggests, we have also added more keystone inventions, particularly those which might alter the playstyle of a nation. The War Goal referred to here is the one mentioned in our previous Dev Diary. Ah, I see. Well, it's powerful. It sits relatively far down the oratory tree, as many of our more game-changing inventions tend to. I see. So they consider this Imperial Challenge War Goal to be a game-changing tech. We'll see how that plays out. I'm definitely excited to try it. Before I hand it over to Brayton, I'm aware that I promised unit model screenshots a week or two ago. Due to some final polish on these, I can't show them off just yet. Watch the space. Well, we will be doing that. I guarantee it. And there's another section here provided by the content design lead at Imperator Rome, Brayton. We haven't gotten, so this seems like art or something? Hello everyone, I am Dragus, the content design lead on Imperator. Some of you may already know me, as for some years I worked on Hearts of Iron 4 until I moved to Imperator Rome earlier this year. For the upcoming Heirs of Alexander DLC, I shifted my focus from the focus trees I worked on in the past to Imperator's mission tree system, creating a trio of missions for Lysimachus' Thrace. We have not heard anything about Lysimachus yet in the Heirs of Alexander Marius update that's coming, so well, here he is. Here's Lysimachus for you. I will begin by stating that everything shown here is still a work in progress and liable to change. Do not be subscribed to certain details about blah, blah, blah. They have to say in every Dev Diary. I do not blame them, but I don't have to read it in every Dev Diary. It might change. That's a cool picture, though. I like it. Definitely improvement. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, Lysimachus, one of Alexander's bodyguards, was assigned governor of the satrapy of Thrace. This would prove to be a poisoned gift, as Thrace was only notionally a satrapy. Much of the theoretical extent of this satrapy was ruled by disloyal Greek colonies, Gaetian tribes, and the nation of Odrysia, which had been unified under the king, Suthus III. Yeah, this is an interesting spot to play, although being tribes is a bit... I do wish these nations, sort of in the interior of the Danube here, had a bit more going for them, but yeah, we can see here the shipyards that they're talking about. All of them are one tier, it appears. Probably because Alexander's the only one that starts out at tier 2 or some such thing. Anyway, Yeah. So here's a map of that situation. This is Thrace. This is where Lysimachus is reigning from. Thessalonica is here, I think. That's his capital, right? Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. Over the course of the next 20 years, until the game's start date, Lysimachus showed his unparalleled military and diplomatic genius by fending off all threats posed to his tenuous hold over the satrapy. Gaetic raids, repeated Odrysian revolt, and even a united uprising by the Greek colonies on the western shore of the Pontus Exunius, Black Sea, were defeated. Even the combination of an Odrysian and this Greek revolt happening concurrently in 313 and 312 BCE, timed to coincide with an invasion across the Hellespont by Antigonus, were not able to bring Lysimachus down. The sheer speed with which Lysimachus defeated the Odrysi and Greeks in detail before the Antigonid crossing had even been made resulted in the invasion being cancelled altogether. Good job, Lysimachus. The issues facing a Thracian player in 304 can thus be summed up in the following points. A unification of the Thracian satrapy, later kingdom, is in turn comprised of... Okay, wow, so this is just a giant makeover for Thrace, and they're making it a lot more interesting to play, I think. Okay, so we have basically three goals here. Unification of the Thracian satrapy, so that means you have to maintain the loyalty of Sudis. You have to maintain the loyalty of the Odrysians and Moesians, then, it would seem. They're tribal vassals at the start, I think. You gain the favor of the Greeks by the judicial... Oh, that's the right one. Achieving submission from the remaining tribes south of the Danube, so that would be these guys. Tribalia, is that where the word comes from? Serdia, Media, yeah. Securing Thrace from raids and incursions from the Getae in the north. Okay, so you secure it. How do you secure it? I mean, that's north of the Danube. So, it's interesting though. Obtaining the support of the Greeks via a change in diplomacy. This is comprised of maintaining loyalty of the Greek colonies that previously rebelled in 313 and 312 BCE. Gaining the favor of Greeks by the judicious application of wealth and a display of generosity and juritism. Dismantling the influence of other diadocs over the Greek mainland. The establishment of a league in the Greek mainland that is friendly to Thrace. Okay, so that means that you have a big incentive to sort of try to tip the scales of diplomacy going on in the Greek mainland, and to try to put together the Aetolian League and all of that stuff. You are going to try to get all up in that because the outcome of Greek diplomacy on the mainland also affects you. And the third thing, the invasion of Asia. Obtaining a fleet sufficiently large enough to effect a crossing of the Hellespont, dismantling Antigonid control over the coastal Greek states in Asia Minor. That's Aetolia, Ionia, that started out as Antigonid client states or tributaries, feudatory or something. So you're supposed to get those. Establishing Thrace's own subject nations in these parts. Okay, so you've got to take Aetolia here, for example, and turn it into your own subject. Protecting these new Asian holdings from aggression from farther south and east. I like that. This makes it sound like it's a lot of fun to actually play as Lysimachus. I think my very first campaign was as Thrace, and I haven't gone back to it because it's not as interesting as some of the others. The 3 Thracian missions can be taken in any order, depending on what the player initially wishes to focus on. So, in no particular order, these are the new Thracian missions. We will begin with the Paper Kingdom mission. The aim for this mission is to unify the nominal extent of Thrace under your rule, and secure it from threats, both from the north and from the south. Okay, so here's a giant mission tree to achieve the Paper Kingdom. So this has to do with your neighbors. Yeah, neighbors to the north especially. So Scythians, Getians, Odrysians, that's who we are worried about. And the Scythians would be up here even further off the screen, further north. Okay. So I don't, in the key to the Hellespont, you probably need to control the Hellespont, which is right here. It's a crucial crossing spot. It's where Alexander crossed to make his invasion of the Persian Empire, for example. So yeah, this is pretty cool. I think that we would kind of just skip past it because we're not sure what the details of each little piece are. The mission has three main parts. The left deals with Odrysia, the right deals with the Getae. The center features tests focusing on cultural unity and the expansion of the capital city of Lysimachus. Yeah, that's what it's called. Both as an economic center and a military bulwark situated on the Hellespot. Right, that's where it is. If I'm not mistaken, it's like right here. Yeah, where this port, where this is, this icon. Here, this is where it is. Lysimachus, whatever you named the city. Yeah. Suthopolis III, Odrysia's king, unified the Odrysi tribes under his rule and attempted to prove the Odrysi's ability to match the Macedonians in their culture. Odrysia is an ever disloyal thorn in the side of Thrace. Go to war with another Diodoc, and they're liable to stab you in the back before their own gains. Good. They were too inconsequential before. However, drive them back, and they will sue for peace and accept a return to the status quo. You may, of course, continue your onslaught and wipe them off the map quickly, but accepting this early peace would free your troops to continue your undoubtedly more pressing wars. Okay, Odrysia offers peace. So this is kind of an ooh, okay. I definitely like the look here. So they give you a decision early on. Suthopolis has recognized his dire plight and has sent envoys seeking peace. They offer a return to the status quo antebellum in return for an immediate cessation of hostilities. So it gives you the option to accept the offer or just be like, nah, you can't escape and keep fighting. It's up to you. Once Odrysia has been put in its place at least once, negotiations can begin. Offering concessions or gold will make the Odrysi less likely to rebel in future wars. Offering still more in the unsavory compromise and loyalty earned tasks will erode popular Odrysi support for Suthopolis' war and prevent him from rallying the people in any further revolts. Okay, so what you really want to do, you want to pacify them. You want to make sure that they don't cause, so that they're not too much of a thorn in your side, as they put it. Okay, so once you fulfill this mission, the rewards, loyalty earned, takes a long time to complete. So you get diplomatic reputation plus 5 for 20 months. That's 5 years, 10 years rather. Odrysia gains 25 to Thrace. Will not be able to start further rebellions. Whatever? No way. Okay. So none of this is very good, except for this last one. Odrysia will not be able to start further rebellions. Does that mean ever? Because this one specifies it's 120 months, 10 years. This one does not. So if you win this, then Odrysia can never again rebel against you. Interesting. That does seem a bit gamey. I'm not sure how I feel about it. But it's good that they're, doing stuff creatively. On the other hand, if you lack such patience, or if you have a particular penchant for vengeance, once Odrysia has revolted at least twice, you may prepare a punitive expedition. Plucking the thorn will cancel Odrysia's vassalage to Thrace and bring you into a state of war with them. Again, Odrysia may sue for peace, but this time you will hopefully have no other wars to distract you. Suthopolis, Odrysia's capital, was created as a symbol of Odrysi culture and sovereignty. Controlling it enables the task of breaking the symbol, completely destroying the city and burning it to the ground. Its people will be put to the sword, its riches looted, and the city will be reduced to a settlement, with only a handful of survivors, with others fleeing to random Odrysian provinces. This will ensure that the Odrysi will never more consider rising up against the Thracian might. Okay, so they explain it. They explain how Odrysia will never again be able to start rebellions, because you're going to pull a Carthage on them and just make it so that their entire city and culture and heritage and future is destroyed in one go. Okay, well that sounds very well thought out and very cool, very flavorful, as they say. Definitely want to try out Thrace. Let's keep reading. Oh, sorry. Let's look at this image then. So this is if you take that option, the second option, the destruction of Suthopolis. Our vengeance has been exacted upon the Odrysi. No structure in Suthopolis has been left standing. Its people have been slain, and the survivors driven to the four winds. The city, the symbol of their pride, which they, in their hubris, built to match Macedonian opulence, is no more. Let all bear witness to the fate of traitors. Okay, so that's a decision. Suthopolis becomes a settlement. Every pop in Suthopolis has a 75% chance to be killed, 15% chance to be displaced to a random Odrysian province, and a 10% chance to survive. Wow. Odrysia will not be able to start further rebellions. That's really cool. I bet this is going to apply to Carthage. You will be able to do this to Carthage, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's incredible. Good, cool. That's good stuff. This is what the mission tree should provide, opportunities to do this kind of thing. But beware, for the eyes of the northern tribes are upon you. Moesia, Tribalia, and Cerdia will be watching how you deal with the Odrysians. Once Suthis has been dealt with, the tribes of the north task sends ultimatums to these northern tribes. Each one will be offered to submit peacefully to Thrace, and their likelihood to accept depends partly on whether you choose to handle the Odrysian issue peacefully or with force. I guess they'll be more inclined to join you if you handle it peacefully. But if you handle it with force, won't they be kind of scared of you and then more likely to submit that way? I don't know. We'll see how it plays. Periodically, Getic raids may occur. I wonder if they're going to make raiding kind of like raiding in CK3. Raiders will enter the territory of one of the Greek city-states on the coast of Pontus Euxinus, Black Sea, and steal pops, food, or gold. Each time this happens, their opinion of you for failing to defend them will suffer, and unhappy Greek states do not embody the concept of loyalty. Okay, so you have to watch out for Getian raids. You can choose to say this will not go unanswered. It looks like that's your only choice in this image. So you lose money, they gain money, and everybody loses opinion. Again, a peaceful or a military solution may be sought to this problem. Fortify the Crossings begins the peaceful branch. The goal is to use the breadth of the Istros Danube River as a natural barrier against future raids. Fortifying all possible crossings through the missions will achieve this, though this requires first actually controlling the crossings, some of which are owned by the tribes just south of the Istros, stop all future Getic raids, and unlock the Bridge Between Peoples task, which greatly improves opinion with the states north of the river, as well as stimulating trade and immigration. Cool, very good stuff. So trade and immigration is nice. So if you complete a Bridge Between Two Peoples, you get this. You get Diplo Rep for +5 for 10 years, you get a bunch of opinion, you get extra, another import route in the province you did it in, or is it the Happy City, I'm not sure. You get a bunch of pops, you get 1 freeman, you get 4 tribesmen. Good stuff. The right-hand path starts with ending the raid, then declares war on the Getae. Win, even if the Getae still exists, and the frequency of the raids will be drastically reduced. Remove them from the map altogether, and they will stop completely. That sounds like a goal to me. From there on, you will invade the rest of the lands north of the Istros River, and even go into Scythia, hopefully with more luck than the ill-fated Zopirion. Finally, the central branch involves integrating Odrysian culture into Thrace, improving the economic status of Lysimachus, improving its forts, and finally, citing the ferocity of Thracian fighters, providing temporary combat bonuses to the traditional Thracian troop types, archers, light cavalry, and light infantry. There's a lot here. Okay. Yeah, they give us a lot of detail on the various mission trees involved with the race. That's pretty cool. Okay, so let's keep going. We will next look at a new Hellenic policy mission. This mission deals with the Greeks in Greece proper, but also more directly with the Greek colonies on the shore of the Pontus Euxinus. As you may have noticed from the pictures above, where only Istros used to exist as an independent Greek state on the coastline, now all Greek cities here have been made independent and turned into vassals of Thrace. Wait, what? When you look at that on the map. Oh! Yeah, I didn't notice that. Okay, so all of these are Greek city-states then. Yeah, that's definitely different. Except for this top part. Okay, I like that. That seems to balance a bit better with the Antigone Kingdom over in Anatolia. Where were we? Right. As you may have noticed in the pictures above, we're only Israel. Yeah, we saw that. This is to better represent the political reality of the area, as well as provide increased replayability by adding a new swath of minor powers to try out. Yeah, playing as Greek city-states in this region might be kind of fun. Might be kind of fun. So here we have a new Hellenic policy, which has to do with the Greek city-states just mentioned. Let's keep going. In the previous mission, I mentioned that a lower opinion from your Greek colonial subjects will make them more likely to be disloyal. When at war with another diadoc, they may choose to send their wealth to attempt to spark an uprising among these Greek states. Opinion is one of the factors that governs whether these states will rise up or not. So, you definitely want to keep your Greek city-state vassals under your thumb, loyal to you, and the best way to do that is to make them happy, basically. Looks like there might be a Pontic revolt. So they could easily revolt against you. Odessos has risen up against our rule, and their example has been quickly followed by others in Greek, and they certainly mean to seize the opportunity while we are distracted with our current war. And apparently, the Antigonid Kingdom is to blame for this. So it looks like you could do some espionage, and I mean, you could already, cause unrest? I'm not sure. But it doesn't seem very consequential, all the things that you were capable of sort of doing with your espionage stuff. Very low capacity, so it looks like there might be a way to cause trouble. I mean, I know they did mention that in previous dev diaries, but... So, as antagonists, you are able to cause Thracian city-state vassals to revolt against them. Could you do the same to an Antigonid Kingdom? Because they have a ton of vassals and client states. So that might be quite devastating if you turn the tables on antagonists and do the same. The rightmost branch of the tree deals with this problem. Two paths exist. The problem with the Greek city-states. On the left, condone the local mints kicks off the autonomy branch. You give the Greek polis further autonomy and rights and invest in their economic development, first reducing the chance they'll rise up against you and finally removing the chance altogether. But you probably get less from it. You have less direct control over them. So that's the trade-off. On the right, enforce royal coinage instead strips them of their rights and establishes strengthened garrisons. This will initially reduce the chance of their rising up, and eventually, by dint of them no longer existing, remove this chance altogether when solidify control annexes these cities directly. So, if you want to just annex them, go to the right. If you want to let them be, sort of semi-independent, go to the left on this tree. Formalize autonomy. Wait, it looks like it's the other way around. On the left, condone the local mints. No, that's on the right. Okay, they have these mixed up in the dev diary. But yeah, so on the right-hand side, this is the autonomy branch, and this is the subjugation branch, where you can just annex them all into Thrace eventually. Alright, you get a bunch of manpower and you get a bunch of opinion. Okay, let's keep going. The rest of the mission tree focuses on the Greek mainland. Hellenic Jugurthine spreads your wealth around the Greek city-states in exchange for a healthy opinion boost. The various tasks to its left grant further gifts to Athens, Sparta, and Boeotia, encouraging them to break free from the vassalage of other diadocs and possibly even accept an alliance with Thrace as their new protectors. This also makes it sound like it'll be more interesting to play in the Greek mainland in the Marius 2.0 update. Just speculating on that. Let's keep reading. This branch wouldn't be complete without having the quintessential League task, allowing for the creation of your very own Greek Subject League. Since I've heard this is all the latest rage among diadocs, and you wouldn't want to be looked down for not having one. Okay, so you can create your own custom Hellenistic League. Greek Subject League. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I would definitely be trying to do that in my first playthrough. Thrace is high on the list of what I'm going to play first as in Marius. Egypt is also high up on the list. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. We'll see what the rest of the dev diaries reveal. Finally, everyone knows that every self-respecting diadoc considers themselves a god. So as a final bit of ego pandering, you can establish a personality cult and even worship Lysimachus as the god on earth he was. I mean, you can already deify rulers, but is this something different? For who, other than God, could have taken over Thrace and achieved what he achieved, beset by enemies from every direction? So I like the cult of personality thing. That's one of the unique things in Imperial Rome that you don't get in any other Paradox game. You can straight deify yourself, deify your rulers, and then have your people worship them, and it actually helps you to do this. So making the dynamics around deifying your rulers and doing it when they're still alive, that sounds like a lot of fun, and we'll see what that we'll see what that is, what that new look in terms of ruler deification has in store. I mean, I saw like what, Divine Founder? Yeah, so you get a special status if you get all the way to the end. Now, what if you don't do it in Lysimachus's lifespan? I guess his heirs can pick up the same benefits? I hope so. Definitely hope so. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. The third and final mission we will look at is Crossing the Hellespot. This is a mission that deals with Thrace's neighboring fellow Diodocs, the Antigonid Kingdom, and Macedon. So this is pretty self-explanatory, I think. Pontic Hegemony. Pontus, of course, is northern Anatolia, like southern Black Sea area that Thrace is situated on. You want hegemony in the entire place, which means, of course, displacing your immediate neighbors and rivals, Macedonia and the Antigonids. So this tree is all about dealing with that. On the right, tasks allow the seizure of the Byzantine fleet to bolster your numbers and secure a crossing over the Hellespont, as well as offering other military bonuses, integrate cultures, extorting your subjects for money to maintain the war effort, and finally beginning a grand shipbuilding program to contest the Aegean. So this is pure just military, looks like, power. Very cool. How do you take the Byzantine fleet? You just take it, and then you give it back, or you keep it, and then what happens when they build more ships? Do they just go to you, or do you get to keep the ships? Unclear. Unclear. But, okay, having a program to build ships, I don't like that, like, before only the Greeks could build those big heavy warships, what they're called, just because they're Greek or whatever, and then it would, then they dominate the sea. I know that Carthage could build. I mean, you have your typical naval powers that just are, as are most things in the game. They just are. They have come forth into existence without any sort of rhyme or reason. I like the notion that as a civilization, you need to actually build up your capacity to build a navy with your various shipyards, your lumber, your wood, your technology, your knowledge of how shipbuilding works, and that's reflected in your general capacity, along with your money and your opinion. It's another one of those factors that that you should have to worry about. Thrace gains a navy. Oh, you just get a one-time navy, I guess. It allows you to. Okay, so this is a shipbuilding program. It doesn't actually allow you to build heavy ships. It's just speeds up and makes cheaper building ships. Okay, cool. You need 12 ports in the Aegean Sea. That's a lot. That's a lot. On the left, crush Asian Greek resistance and sway Asian Greek loyalty. Offer a choice between two approaches to your initial assault on the Antigonids. Brute force your way through with temporary combat bonuses, or bribe some of the Greek minor subjects of the Antagonists to switch sides, though both of those sound fun to try out. From here, you may honor the legacy of Troy to the approval of the Greeks, as well as use diplomatic means to bring Heraclea Pontica, ruled by Basila Amastris, into the fold. Isn't that the Achaemenid heiress? I think it is. Further tasks allow for the creation of Pergamon as a subject state. Cool. Pergamon is severely lacking in Imperator Rome. They need to bring that into the fray. I'm expecting a Dev Diary just talking, not exclusively about Pergamon, but at least making mention of it, because if you're going to tie the history in, especially with the rise of the Roman Republic and the Macedonian Wars and their wars with the various Greek and Diadochi powers, you've got to talk about Pergamon. Am I wrong? Okay, the mission. Pergamon is such a state, as well as the creation of forts in the Taurus Mountains and claims for future conquests in Cappadocia. The mission is finished by ensuring no other Diadochi or their subjects owns any province on the coast of the Pontic Hegemony, or Black Sea. A matter of Troy. I think you just have to take the Troy, the historical area of Troy, which is near the Hellespot. Near the Hellespot. I'm not sure exactly. See if we can find it on this map. Maybe around here. It's around this area, I think. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, final branch tucked away between the others deals with Macedon. Historically, Lysimachus and Cassander were close allies, but with Cassander's death, Pyrrhus and Lysimachus eventually divided Macedon between each other. In the mission tree, you can reach out to the Epirates and prepare for a war on Macedon from both sides. Once Cassander is dead, the matter of Macedon brings both powers into war with Macedon, for you to divide as you see fit. A final task allows for exacting vengeance on Demetrios in a most appropriate manner, as retribution for the insults he leveled at Lysimachus. Demetrios is, of course, Antigonus' son. So, what is this? Poetic justice. Okay, Demetrius has always been a rival of our founder Lysimachus and offended him greatly by calling him a simple treasurer. Yeah, what a jerk. The Antigonids are the bane of our existence, and someone will have to pay for this offense. Okay, so it doesn't tell you what's gonna happen. They just tell you that you have to have Demetrius imprisoned, and you have to have 500 gold, and then you get poetic justice. So something's gonna happen to poor Demetrius. Yeah. Cool, so they're not gonna reveal that, I guess. But that's very cool. I like they have to, especially. Okay, I'm just gonna say this bluntly. Especially with Crusader Kings 3 out and doing so well, they have to do something to make the characters a bit more meaningful. Okay, and it's true as far as the historical literature is concerned that Lysimachus and Demetrius and all of the Antagonists, he didn't like the Antagonists. They offended him, and they didn't think much of Lysimachus either. Thought he was rather lowly. So to make a big deal, make a lot out of that particular antipathy that they have for each other, to make that a goal in the game brings a lot more personality, and it makes the player much more invested in what's going on because they're invested in the characters in addition to the civilization that they're building. So this type of addition to 2.0 is very much needed, very much appreciated too, and I'm looking forward to it. And also another note about the historicity of Lysimachus and Pyrrhus slicing up Macedon after Cassander died. I'm glad they have another triggered event like that. So Cassander dies. Previously, that only really mattered with Antigonus. Antigonus would die, and if he died before you captured Corinth, then you fail your mission or whatever. But that was a unique case. Now, when Cassander dies, presumably Pyrrhus and Lysimachus will have something to do in the immediate aftermath of that. So I'm pretty excited to see how this plays. Again, we do not have a release date, unfortunately, yet for 2.0. Hoping to get one soon, and as soon as we get one, I will let you know on this channel. Let's see what's the final paragraph here. Lysimachus is, in my opinion, the most overlooked of all the Diodocs, in part because so little information about him is available. Delving into what historical evidence does exist has been an absolute pleasure, and my personal regard for his accomplishment has grown tremendously. Now, the appreciation of history really shines through for, who is this? I want to give him credit, or her, Bratton, him or her, don't know who this is. Bratton. The passion that Bratton has for history really shines through in the construction of these mission trees. Very impressive, very thorough, very faithful to the history, at least the attempt. And this spirit is to be applauded, standing ovation from me, clap, 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 and all of that. The spirit is there. That's the right approach. Absolutely. So congratulations to them for that. And I'm pleased. Another pleasing dev diary, except we do not yet have a release date. I'm going to get that soon. I hope you will enjoy playing Thrace with these missions as much as I enjoyed researching and working on them. Playing Thrace is intended to be a challenge, but succeeding you'll have experienced a hint of what it was to be Lysimachus. See you in the next Dev Diary. Okay, so we got kind of a double dip. No more, right? Yeah, okay. We got kind of a double dip from Arheo and Brayton here, and it's a good one. Good Dev Diary, a lot of good juicy stuff. Ports, art, mission trees. The search function is huge. More character interaction, especially between Lysimachus and the Antagonists. Cassander's death, sort of setting off an event. And, you know, in addition to that, there's Alexander's wife and heir, although were they killed before the start of the game? I don't know, but hopefully there's more character stuff as well. But I want to know what you think, so please leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this Dev Diary or Marius 2.0 in general, or about Imperator Rome. And make sure to leave a like if you found this content enjoyable or informative. Please subscribe if you have not done so already. Make sure to hit that bell notification button to get notified on all my new videos. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next Dev Diary. Bye-bye.